Hi, I'm Jayne from Nexus Production Group. So what made me want to get into film is a bit of a funny question because I was actually working in a supermarket, so I had a normal 9-to-5 job in my 20s, and someone called me and said, did you want to work on a film? I heard you're really great. I had no idea what they were talking about. And so they brought me on set and they taught me how to read call sheets, and I built a set for them. I built a police station and I painted it and dressed it. And that's when I realized this is what I want to do, because I was always creative, but I didn't actually have that outlet until then. So that's kind of how it happened. And then from there, I just realized this is what I wanted to do. And then I've always been writing, so moving into directing was just a natural sort of process for me. The first film I ever made as a director was Dusk in 2013. So it was a film that I wrote, directed, and also did the production design on. It wasn't the first film I'd worked on, but it is the first film that I did as a director. So 3 filmmakers that inspire me. I like a lot of different sort of films and a lot of different genres. So I like Guillermo del Toro for his fantasy and the way he brings things that you can only imagine in your head to life. I think it's a beautiful way to tell stories, and some of his films are my favorite. Agnes Varga, because the way that she actually, not just the way she made films in the early days, but how she also adapted to the way film was changing over the years and still making films and making documentaries till she was like in her 90s, which is just fascinating. So 3 films that inspire me, because I'm into improv films at the moment and I like the whole relationship kind of aspect of films. Greta Gerwig's film, particularly Lady Bird, was interesting because the dynamics between the mother and the daughter, the relationship. So I do a lot of that sort of work myself, where I deal with a lot of characters and conflict. So a film like that. Obviously I said Guillermo del Toro, so Pan's Labyrinth is a film one day I'd love to make a film like that. And I also love period dramas, so something like The Beguiled by Sofia Coppola is another film that's beautiful, because I'd love to do a period film, or something like Atonement.
I want to be a pilot because you can get a lot of money with it, and I want to open a cat sanctuary.
In fact, everyone knows me as the cat. The cat girl, because my life is just cats.
I started seeing cats, and eventually I started feeding them as well, knowing that it was, downhill all the way now.
A big tornado came and took all his cats away, and some of them ended up in the prickly pear and really far away, and they started coming back like few days later,
And I gave her a kitten, and she started holding it. And her daughter told me, we have a hard time to take her out of her world. We never saw her so happy, and it was like I won a lottery when I saw her so happy with the kitten in her arms.
He feels like, I think he feels like I was the one that inflicted his harm. He probably thinks I'm the blame,
I believe that the country is judged even by the way they keep their animals. If you don't have animals, you don't love yourself. And cats extend life, as I said. Cats give life.
I think the vision that I bring into my work has changed over the years. Like when I started making films, particularly when I was living in Melbourne, I was very focused on female-driven films. It's still female-driven, a lot of the work I do, but recently I've been doing a lot of, as I said before, character work. So my vision is always to bring out the authenticity of the person and of the character that we're trying to bring to screen. So recently we made a documentary called Cats of Malta, so that's obviously different if it's a documentary. We always try to bring out the human side of the person and the subject that we're trying to, tell the story around. So that's kind of the vision. It's always to bring something that's relatable and something that's authentic to the screen. So my favorite film that I've made so far with Nexus Production Group was one that I co-directed. It had to be, it's hard to say because I'm in love with Cats of Malta at the moment because of my connection to Malta and the island. But a film that I had a lot of fun doing and something that really changed the way I looked at being a filmmaker and a director was Friends, Foes and Fireworks by Nexus Production Group. So we made that in one night over New Year's Eve, totally improvised. And that shifted my way of looking at how you can make films and working to be more adaptable in this kind of film climate where everything has to be faster and crews have to be smaller. So that's how I fell in love with improvisation. And it was a test to see if we could actually do it, and we did. And from there, Ivan and I, we fell in love with making films that way, with improvisation and focusing on character and stories. And that was also a female-driven film. So our films, since I've been involved with Nexus, have been a lot of female perspectives and female characters. So that was really interesting for me. And to actually pull it off and direct something in 24 hours was a challenge. So something I'm really proud of. And it's a film that's so beautiful to me because all the different characters and the personalities and then all the conflict that we managed to bring onto the screen. And like I said earlier, it's relatable, and we always try and do that with our films. Okay, what am I working on? So at the moment, Nexus Production Group have Cats of Malta that we're working on. It's in post-production. So that's a documentary about the people in Malta who look after cats, and as well the story of the cats in Malta and how they connect the island. We also made another film at the same time as Cats of Malta, sort of after that. So Cats of Malta was 2020, and in 2020, the end of 2020, we also made a movie called Machination in Malta. So it's about a woman with an undiagnosed schizophrenic episode. She's having a schizophrenic episode, so she's got mental illness that's undiagnosed, and while it's under isolation, self-isolation, she has a breakdown. So we've got that film as well. And Ivan and I are also working on 2 other feature film scripts while we're here in Malta. Not scripts, concepts, because we don't write scripts. So we've got 2 other ideas here. It's kind of a race to see who can make the smallest kind of location budget, and to see if we actually have time to film it in Melbourne, because it's going to be tricky with the pandemic. Sort of, it might not even happen here. But we're also got a story that we've been working on since last year called Imbedo that we want to film in Malta. So we have sort of like 3 concepts going, and we have another one as well, but that's a different story because we haven't got funding for that one. So it's about 4 that we want to do at the moment. So it's kind of a race to see what we can do first. I haven't been in the Australian film industry for a while, but the challenges that I found in 2017 when I was trying to get into the industry before I left was, it was actually hard to get into the industry if you didn't have the right connections and if you didn't go to film school. But what I also found was people were actually leaving film school, but there wasn't enough jobs for everybody. So everyone was leaving, oh, I've got a degree in film and television, and it's like, but there's not enough work. And I also find there's also the same kind of people getting the same jobs, which is kind of what happens in the film industry, because you're not going to go hire someone that you don't know when you already know someone who could do the job. But I think that's just everywhere. But in Australia, I find there's also a lot of competition. I've heard that it's kind of different in LA. Everyone's willing to share. But in Australia, it's more like, I'm not going to tell them about this job because they're going to go and try and get it off me and that kind of thing. Like, there's a lot of competition, which I haven't sort of seen in Europe because we sort of work at our own things. But that's kind of what I found from the Australian industry. Maybe it's changed, I'm not sure. Okay, for choosing actors, if we have a project that we're working on that we already know there's an actor that can do it, we will sort of approach that actor and see if they want to work with us. But we work with a lot of different actors around the world when we make our short, like, life improvised little micro films. So our process, well, the way we work is we meet the person if we don't know, we haven't met them. We see obviously if they meet the age and the look that we're after, but more so we want to get a feel of if they understand the character. So we write a short character bio and we give it to them beforehand. And then when we go into the interview process with them, we don't actually do rehearsals because it's improvisation. We try and get a feel for the person, if there's a good energy, if there's a good vibe, if they're like open to talk to us and to share ideas with us. And then we just ask them a series of questions. How do you think the character would feel in this situation? What was your understanding of, just say it's about infidelity and a couple who's going through infidelity issues. We'll ask, what's your idea? What's your perspective on infidelity? How would you approach this way? And how do you think your character is going to approach this, and see what they have ideas, and then ask them questions, of course. Do you think this character is going to develop further, or do you think this character is going to go this way? And we just try and get a feel of the person, because we do make films that are very much character-based. So to get an idea of the person and how they would approach the character is very much important going forward when we're going to be working with them for a few weeks to develop a character.
Patrick and I have been really happy together, and
Luca is coming to Berlin.
When did you get married?
وصلتوا باشتبيانا أول شي تربية مش نحسب.
You staying with him 1 week.
I was asked to be in a polyamorous relationship in New York before I met Patrick.
imma kieku kellek għażla. Tażel l-istess ħaġa.
Can I ask you something? Are you sure you still love me? I love you.
I love you too. I love you too.
The biggest challenges I've faced in film or in filmmaking, I guess it depends what role I'm taking on. When I was a production designer, it was obviously, and I was in Melbourne and I was trying to get work, it was trying to get paid work because I did a lot of free work for about 10 years. Yes, insane. And then, so the biggest challenge for me was, well, the learning curve for me was to pick the right projects and to actually try and find projects that I actually wanted to work on that were actually of value to me, because I wasn't working for paid money, so it's for money. So, but the biggest challenges that I've found are basically probably challenging yourself, I think, in every role. Like, it depends what I'm doing, because I went from production designer and set dresser to director and writer. So for me, the challenge is always to, as a director and a filmmaker who writes my own work now, it's always to make a project that's going to be relatable and understandable to an audience, but also something that I want to tell as well, and to find the best way to tell that story. Aspiring filmmakers, the advice I would give for them would be, as I said just now, to always think about the project. If it's a project that you're not going to get paid on, to always think about what the benefit is going to be to you, but also pick your projects wisely, because you don't want to just keep going from free film to free film. I had that problem as well. So, but I think it's always to try and pick projects that challenge you as well, and to always do it, whether it's something that you're working with someone else or something that you're making yourself. If you can always find a way to challenge yourself. Like, I went into my first big production design role. I didn't know what production design, like, I did my production design, like, I've dressed sets and that before, but to actually run a team, someone said to me, would you be able to do this? And I said yes, even though I didn't take on a whole production design team before. I dressed the set and I built it as part of a team, but by myself, I hadn't done it. So I just said, yes, I can do this. So my advice would be just to say yes, and then work it out from there, I think, because you always learn and grow, and always just keep challenging yourself, like keep going from the next project to the next until your work keeps getting better. I do believe in giving unknown actors a chance. I mean, it paid off for me. Like, when I was auditioning for Daughter, I ended up casting Catherine Langford, which happened to be a stroke of luck, because I was doing rehearsals and we went through rehearsal after rehearsal. We spent like 2 or 3 days in rehearsal, and we didn't find the actor that we wanted. And then there was a few people that said they were going to send in self-tapes. Out of about 5, only 2 did. And Catherine was one of them. And I said to Ivan, she doesn't have anything on her resume. She's done like one weird video clip that we've seen. And I said, but she's got a good look. Like, I was looking for a certain look. And I watched her show reel, not her show reel. And I watched her audition tape, and she nailed it. She was like exactly what I was looking for. And she didn't have a CV or anything that was going to stand out. And I took a chance on her. I called her and I said, I want you as Scarlett. And it paid off. So I think that if you can find something special in the audition, or when you actually speak to them, or when you watch their audition tape, and you find some spark, I think that it can work if you do find the right actor. So in terms of pursuing films in Malta, I do want to make a few more films in Malta. So Ivan and I had an idea for a film called To Hold the Moon. We've actually shot the poster and the teaser for that. But we found out that the budget's actually going to be larger than what we usually do. It's going to be hopefully directed by me, but we have to fly actors in. So it's obviously a bigger budget, and it's going to be a bigger crew. So it's going to be a bigger job than what we usually do. So I'd love to film more stuff in Malta, because I think there's not enough representation of Malta as Malta. It's always shot as another country, as France, as Angelina Jolie did it, and as other parts of the country that you see in Tomb Raider and things like that. So it's always different. And Malta's such a beautiful country, so I'd love to shoot more there. And we've also got another film that we want to shoot there called Imbedo. So it's another relationship drama. So that's something we'd like to go back to Malta either this year or next year to film. I've always wanted to work with Sophie Lowe. I've seen her in A Beautiful Kate, which is one of my favorite Australian films, because it's so like bizarre and twisted, and I love those kind of films. And I've always wanted to cast Sophie Lowe in something. I think she's absolutely talented and so beautiful and charismatic on screen. Anyone else? I'm not sure, but Aussies would be, Sophie Lowe. Well, not actually Aussie, she's British, I think, but yeah.
Joanne?
Ines. Hi.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm good, and you?
Yeah, good. I'm
You
fine,
look
thanks.
amazing.
Oh, stop.
Oh, yeah, you always look amazing anyway.
You're cute. You've been away?
Yeah,
Yeah, I know you're back.
Almost 1 month. I mean, yeah, I came back 1 week ago and, well, just starting out like going again to the same life with the kids and stuff.
Sure.
But anyway.
And how are they? Are they okay?
They're fine. They're always fine.
Yeah.
Kids are always fine.
Sure.
And how is everything with you? How is work?
Yeah, good. I've been working.
Yeah.
Working at home, obviously.
Busy. You've been
Yeah.
busy, yeah. I can see. It's
So-
what I thought. So what you want to do today?
Well, should we just wander around? It's nice. We can get a coffee or something.
Yeah, sure.
Come on, let's go.
Technique in filmmaking. I'm not very tech savvy, so I can't. I'm not actually very tech savvy, so a technique that I've learned, probably improvisation. As a director, how to improvise and how to work with actors to improvise, because I did a course of it in Basel. So we actually got funded by a Maltese arts community to actually go to Basel and do a course with Robert Marchand on how to work with actors. So I think the technique is what I'm always trying to get better skills in, is to learn how to work better with actors and how to work with improvisation. So I'm always willing to do more of that. Favorite on-set memory? Oh, there's so many. I've been doing this since 2006. So on-set memory, if I can remember anything, I'm trying to think. Well, working with Ivan when we were still sort of starting out with Nexus, when we did Dace Declan Private Eye, that was pretty hilarious. Like the whole thing was just funny. Like we knew the film was going to be bad, but we didn't know how bad until we saw it. So I think working with Ivan in the early days, and I think those are the best memories, because we were making films from a long time together, from way back. And we have a lot of fun making those. And also being on set of Al Western, another crazy film that Ivan did under Nexus Production Group before I joined. So I rocked up to set and they were doing a country and western film, and Ivan was singing with some ukulele and I had to throw an apple at him. So that's like one of my best ones. Someone said, "Can you throw an apple at Ivan?" I'm like, "Oh, how hard do you want me to throw this apple?" So that's like one of the best things, like being on set with them and just seeing the film unfold. So it was nice to come down and see them making some crazy stuff. I think final words, I just want to say that you have to keep finding your inspiration, because it's not easy to be a filmmaker. But I think that if you always keep driving yourself towards your goals and keep working towards always bettering yourself with every project and learning along the way, and also taking feedback and criticism, because a lot of people, like, if someone tells them that their film is shit, they're going to like sort of go away and not ever make another film. Either that, or they're going to be very angry and just going to be bitter towards the industry. But I think always trying to better yourself with every project and learning and taking back all the feedback that you can get about your film and working with other people and learning off others is the best way to actually excel and keep going and to stay in the industry a long time.